It's as if someone had a good old rummage around in my head and plucked out all of the things that I love in a book. This is tagged like a fan fiction on AO3. I do enjoy my cozy sci-fi with a little side order of existential horror. As soon as you throw a little bit of doomed, forbidden sapphic romance in there, I am sat. I'm already lining up that 5-star review. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. We are fast approaching the end of 2025 and this is normally a time for people on BookTube to look back on the year and reflect on the best books they've read, worst books they've read, and I do have quite a lot of roundup videos yet to come that I have not filmed yet because I have been busy. But in this video, instead of looking back, I actually want to look forward into the future. Over the last few months, there have steadily been more and more announcements for books that are coming out in 2026, next year. And there are a lot that I am extremely excited for. So I wanted to make this video to tell you about some of the books that are on my radar, some that you might want to add to your wish list or pre-order or do whatever. I made one of these videos this time last year for books that were going to come out in 2025 and I managed to correctly predict that a lot of them were going to be absolute highlights of the year for me. Some of my favourite books I've read this year were mentioned in that video, so I'm hoping that I'm just going to manifest me loving all of these books that I'm going to talk about in this video. So I have made a list. I checked it twice. Hopefully these books will all be nice. Ew. I hate myself. I have a long list of 2026 releases that are on my radar, but I've managed to narrow it down to a lovely 26 books that are coming out in 2026. Some of these books I already have copies of as ARCs or proof copies and I'll be pointing those out as I go. Some of these books I have already pre-ordered and I'll be pointing those out as I go. And yeah, these are just the books that I am especially excited about in 2026 because I feel like this year has overall been kind of terrible and next year isn't looking particularly promising either, and I feel like we need something to look forward to. Even if it's just like a little book that comes out next year that I'm waiting for. Just something small like that. I need something to look forward to. Please. So without further ado, here are 26 books that I am most looking forward to in 2026. We're going to be working in chronological order starting from January, and I have my handy iPad here just to help me keep track of dates and things. And we're going to be starting with an absolute banger. I think everyone and their mum is excited for this book that is coming out on the 20th of January next year. It is, of course, Half His Age, the debut novel from Jennette McCurdy. Jennette McCurdy, most people know as Sam from iCarly. I grew up watching that show. I grew up watching her, and she then released a memoir called I'm Glad My Mum Died, which was about how terribly she was treated on that show and just how terribly she was treated as a child actor in general. And this is her first work of fiction, and yeah, considering the response that I'm Glad My Mum Died had, it's no wonder that everyone is excited for this book. The highly anticipated, funny, sad, thrilling novel about sex, class, desire and power, and the often misguided lengths we'll go to get what we want, from Jennette McCurdy, the 3 million copy Sunday Times best-selling author of I'm Glad My Mum Died. Waldo is ravenous, horny, blunt, naive, wise, impulsive, lonely, angry, hurting, endlessly wanting, and the thing she wants most of all, Mr. Corgi, her creative writing teacher. Mr. Corgi, with the wife and the kid and the mortgage and the bills, with the dead dreams and the atrophied looks and the growing paunch. She doesn't know why she wants him. Is it his passion? His life experience? The fact that he knows books and films that she doesn't? Or are they actually kindred spirits, sharing the same filter with which they each take in the world around them? Or perhaps it's just enough that he sees her when no one else does. Startlingly perceptive, mordantly funny, and keenly poignant, Half His Age is an incisive study of a yearning 17-year-old who disregards all obstacles in her effort to be seen, to be desired, and to be loved. That sounds incredible. Painful, but like, I cannot wait for this book. I think given Jeanette McCurdy's background as well, I think she is the perfect person to take on a story like this. And yeah, if you haven't already guessed it, I have pre-ordered this book and I am waiting with bated breath for when it comes out and I get my hands on it. Next up, we are moving straight on to February, and the next book comes out on the 12th of February. It is The Wandering Queen by Claire Hayward. Claire Hayward wrote The Daughters of Sparta, I think it's called, and The Shadow of Perseus. I read The Daughters of Sparta a couple of years ago and I thought it was really interesting. It was a very interesting take on the Trojan War from the perspectives of Helen and Clytemnestra, who are two very different and equally interesting characters in Greek mythology. This book is a retelling of Dido, who is the Queen of Carthage in the Aeneid. I love the Aeneid so much. It is one of, if not my favourite epic poem ever. I think Dido is such an interesting character as well. She's such a powerful female character, and yet she meets such a tragic end in the poem. The king of Tyre is dead, his final words anointing his clever and strong-willed daughter Elissa as the new queen until his young son comes of age. But betrayal and danger soon haunt Elissa, and she is forced to flee the kingdom, exiled with a band of loyal followers and a broken heart. After an arduous search for a new home, Elissa and her people settle in North Africa, and she is crowned Queen Dido, the ferocious and devoted ruler of her newly established city of Carthage. Soon a powerful trading hub, Carthage thrives under Dido's governance. But when a band of Trojan survivors, led by the valiant Aeneas, washes up on a nearby shore, Queen Dido is reminded of a promise she made long ago, never to trust or to love another again. Can Dido overcome her past and open herself and her city up to Aeneas, or is their love doomed to burn everything to the ground? I read an Aeneid retelling earlier this year. It was called The Heir of Venus by Laura Shepperson, and my one major criticism of it was that it didn't have enough Dido. It made me realise how much I wanted a retelling that was focused on Dido, and now this is coming out. It's like the universe heard my pleas. The only thing is that it comes out in hardback next year, and my copy of The Daughters of Sparta by Claire Hayward is in paperback, and it's like that whole dilemma of do I get the hardback or do I wait until the paperback comes out just so I can have matching copies? I don't know. Turns out we have not one but two myth retellings coming out on the same day. This book also comes out on the 12th of February. It is called Pasiphae. It's by Jane Doherty. It's obviously a retelling of Pasiphae, who was the wife of King Minos and the mother of the Minotaur. A queen, a mother, a monster, a throne built on blood. Princess Pasiphae of Colchis is sent to Knossos to secure the throne, but she soon finds herself entangled in a brutal power struggle. As the mother cult demands blood and Minos seeks to overturn ancient rule, she fights to protect her children. Asterion, her gentle son marked as a monster, and Ariadne, the ambitious daughter who rejects her. Betrayals, sacrifices, and shifting allegiances shape the kingdom's fate. When Theseus arrives to claim his prize, Knossos falls, leaving Pasiphae to face the ghosts of all she has lost. That sounds really cool. I don't think I've ever come across a retelling that has focused on Pasiphae, but if you think about it, she does have quite a story to tell, so this is very exciting that we're getting a book that is focused on her. Oh, and guess what? We have not one, not two, but three retellings coming out in February that are super exciting. This one is not a myth retelling, it is a historical retelling. It's called Cleopatra. It's by Sarah El Arifi, who wrote... What did she write? She's written a lot. She wrote Feybound, she wrote The Final Strife, quite big fantasy. You know my name, but you do not know me. Your historians call me seductress, but I was ever in love's thrall. Your playwrights speak of witchcraft, but my talents came from the gods themselves. Your poets sing of my bloodlust, but I was always protecting my children. How willfully they refused to concede that a woman could be powerful, strategic, divinely blessed to rule. Death will silence me no longer. This is not the story of how I died, but how I lived. From one of the most remarkable and acclaimed storytellers of her generation, the #1 best-selling author of Fae Bound and the Final Strife, this epic and groundbreaking new novel shows us Cleopatra on her own terms. I can't wait for that. Cleopatra is such an interesting figure because she has been villainized and othered for literally millennia. So any retelling that seeks to give her back her voice is a very exciting one for me. And also I do have an arc of the book from NetGalley, which is also extremely exciting, and I am looking forward to reading it imminently. Next up, we are moving into March, and we have got our very first physical arc of the video, and I cannot believe that I am able to physically touch this book already. This is Hell's Heart by Alexis Hall, who I love. I have been raving about their Regency romances for years at this point. Their Something Something series, which is like Regency rom-com. It's slapstick, hilarious, really heartwarming. It's so cute and funny. And then also A Lady for a Duke, which is less com and more just plain rom, but it is also amazing. And the fact that they are now taking on sci-fi romance, sapphic sci-fi romance no less, I'm so excited. They are monsters, they are legends, and they are our prey. Earth is dead, which leaves us stuck living in atmospheric domes on planets that will kill us if we blink wrong or run out of fuel. And by fuel, I mean cerebrospinal fluid, harvested at great risk from gargantuan space monsters. I joined the hunt hoping to get paid and maybe laid, but mostly paid. And I followed a charismatic captain eager to face these beasts and to howl her defiance across the skies of Jupiter. On her crew, I met Q, a woman from the wreck of old Earth, who might have kept me grounded. Or, then again, perhaps not. We were ordered to hunt the greatest leviathan of all, and we fought beasts and ships and one another. Then we finally met our nemesis, there above the red heart of that world. Spoiler, it didn't end well. This is a sapphic sci-fi space opera retelling of Moby Dick, which, I mean, sign me the heck up. It's as if someone had a good old rummage around in my head and plucked out all of the things that I love in a book and then just slap them together to create this, and I'm so here for it. It's sapphic, it's a retelling of classic literature. I love books that are in dialogue with existing stories that have been around for years and years. It's set in deep space, it's got horror elements. I am just so excited. The only reason I haven't read this book yet is because I have been so incredibly busy, and I know I am just going to want to hole myself up for 5 days and just read this. I don't think it's even going to take me 5 days. It might take me 2, probably. 48 hours of me just hiding in a cocoon somewhere, reading this and being obsessed. This comes out on the 12th of March, and I am so excited. Also coming out in March, surprise, surprise, it's another myth retelling. Us Greek mythology girlies are being absolutely fed next year. I am so excited. This is definitely not the last retelling you are going to see in this video. There are many more to come, don't you worry. This one is called Sweetbitter Song. It's by Rosie Hewlett. It comes out on the 19th of March. It is named after a line from a fragment of Sappho. Hello? One fateful night in Sparta, a young slave girl encounters a mysterious grey-eyed princess. Melantho and Penelope, though from different worlds, are instantly connected, but betrayal soon tears them apart. Years later, on Ithaca's rocky shores, Melantho is sent to serve Princess Penelope and her new husband, Prince Odysseus. Hardened by slavery, Melantho vows to stay distant from Penelope, yet the undeniable pull between them proves stronger than ever. As war ignites Greece, Odysseus and Ithaca's men are called away, and in their absence, Melantho finds a new world opening up before her, one where women rule, where family can be found, and where love is finally given the space to bloom. But all wars eventually end, and as Troy falls, Penelope and Melantho must face the king's return and decide how far they will go to protect what matters most to them. I already know that my heart is going to be absolutely broken by this book. I'm going to need the tissues ready. This sounds like such a fresh and original take on an Odyssey retelling, and I am so here for it. I have loved Rosie Hewlett's other books, Medusa and Medea, and I am really fortunate to have an arc of this book by NetGalley, and I will be sinking my teeth into it as soon as I can, for sure. We are now going to be moving into April, and we are going to be staying in April for a while. Let me tell you, this is an absolutely stacked month. I have had to hold myself back from pre-ordering all of these books because my bank account would not thank me. We're starting off nice and early at the 2nd of April with Vile Lady Villains by Denai Christopoulou. This is yet another retelling, but it's a slightly different retelling. It's a retelling of two quite different stories from quite different points in time, but with two fairly similar characters. With the consequences of her murderous actions closing in, Lady Macbeth turns to the three witches for help. She's given a brew that transports her to an unknown realm. Desperately lost, she opens the door and comes face to face with a beautiful woman drenched in blood. Clytemnestra, Queen of Mycenae, is exacting bloody vengeance on her husband. Yet as she revels in her triumph, an otherworldly door appears and a strange woman steps in. Thinking the stranger a spirit, she chases Lady Macbeth into the realm of stories. Hunted by screaming wraiths into worlds that are hell-bent on their demise, this murderous pair are forced to form an alliance or perish. Yet the realm's goddess, the mistress of the House of Books, claims to hold the key to saving them. But can they trust this ancient goddess? As every threat brings our vile lady villains closer, turning ill intentions into fiery attraction that no author dare write, they have a choice: remain within the confines of their original tales, or burn down the world to pen a new story together. Hello? Sign me up right now. This sounds amazing. It's described as a horror fantasy, which is brilliant. It's got real, like, good for her vibes. Like, I may support women's rights, but I also support women's wrongs. And pairing together Lady Macbeth and Clytemnestra, who are two incredibly interesting, very complex, so often villainized characters from two completely different stories from very different time periods. Having them together is just an inspired pairing. I love it so much. I am so intrigued by this. It sounds like such an original story, and yeah, I can't wait to see how it plays out. Next up, coming out on the 9th of April, is Yesteryear by Caro Claire Burke, which is already being called the novel of 2026. Like, people are already singing their praises from rooftops about this book. There has been so much hype surrounding it that I have given into it. I have pre-ordered it because I have to know. I have to know if the hype is real. I do have very severe FOMO and I need to rectify that immediately, as soon as the book comes out. My name is Natalie Heller Mills, and I was perfect at being alive. Natalie lives a traditional lifestyle and has the social media accounts to prove it. Her charming farmhouse on her working ranch is artfully cluttered. Her husband is a handsome cowboy. Her homemade sourdough balls are each more beautiful than the last. So what if there are nannies and producers and industrial-grade ovens behind the scenes? What Natalie's followers don't know won't hurt them. Then, one morning, Natalie wakes up in a strange, horrible version of reality. Her home, her husband, her children. They're all familiar, but something's off. Is this a hoax? A reality show? A test from God? Natalie knows just two things for sure. This isn't her perfect life, and she must escape by any means possible. That sounds great. That sounds very exciting. I've definitely seen over the past year or so, I guess, a rise in books that discuss trad wife culture. And this book does seem to be along those similar lines, but again, this does feel like a new and original take on the topic. And yeah, I'm very excited to see what the hype is all about. Next up, we have the first non-fiction book of the video. Won't be the last. We have Talking Classics, The Shock of the Old by Mary Beard, which comes out on April 16th. This is a classical reception studies book, which is very exciting for me as someone who did specialising in classical reception studies at university, and I have the master's degree to prove it. What's exciting about a piece of bread 4,000 years old, or some pots of paint abandoned in the eruption at Pompeii? Why should we be bothered with the distant past anyway? What's the point? The life, art and literature of ancient Greece and Rome have something to offer everyone. They are not the property of wealthy white men only. They make us wonder how to make sense of people who lived long ago, from angry landlords to giggling senators, and to think harder about our own world, to look at it differently. In Talking Classics, Mary Beard points to the surprising connections between antiquity and the present. From revolutionaries to dictators, Bob Dylan to Beyoncé, she joins forces with the varied modern characters who have been transfixed by the ancient world. It's not compulsory, she argues, to be excited by antiquity, but it's a shame not to be. After half a century teaching and studying classics, she fills the book with lively stories, curious facts, and some good gossip. Talking Classics explains why the deep past does really affect us all. I can't wait to read this book. Mary Beard is an absolute icon of classical scholarship. As someone who has kind of internalized the fact that I spent 4 years studying a pretty useless subject, to the point where I myself call it a pretty useless subject, in kind of a joking way, but also I kind of mean it. As someone who does that, this feels like slight vindication, having a book about like why the study of classics is actually so important, why people who lived and died millennia ago are still quite relevant to modern day. And it also sounds like it talks about how classical studies should be made more accessible to like the wider public, not just wealthy white men. So yeah, this sounds right up my street and it's very exciting, really exciting. And we are not done with the classical discussions, because here comes another myth retelling, surprise! This one is called Aphrodite in Pieces. It's by Lauren J.A. Bear. Yeah, it sounds like a quite unique retelling of Aphrodite's story. 200 years before the Common Era, Aphrodite surprises an itinerant sculptor with a shocking request. Hear my story, see me for who I truly am, and carve it into stone. Never before has the goddess posed for her likeness, and as the artist works, she shares pieces of herself. Her greatest triumphs and her most grievous mistakes, the truth behind the tales of her beneficence? Yeah, and vengeance, and the one epic romance that slips through her perfect fingers time and time again. Part memoir, part fantasy, and all heart, Aphrodite in Pieces begs the eternal essential questions. What do love and beauty truly mean? And can they last? One of my favourite books I read this year was Aphrodite by Phoenicia Rogerson, which was a retelling of the life of Aphrodite, a reimagining really. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think Aphrodite is a very interesting character, an interesting figure in kind of the Greek pantheon. So yeah, having another Aphrodite retelling, especially one that seems to take quite a unique approach, I guess, is very exciting. Next up we have yet another myth retelling. This is The Witch and the Huntress by Luna McNamara, who wrote Psyche and Eros, which I read a couple of years ago and I really enjoyed. This one is a retelling of the Argonautica from the perspectives of Medea and Atalanta. Daughters, warriors, lovers. There is the love that is thrust upon us, and love that we choose. Run after the latter, no matter what gods and men say, and never let it go. Or at least, never let yourself look back. Medea, born to the goddess Hecate and wicked king Aeetes, endures a lonely and trapped life on the island of Colchis. Yet as she grows, so do her powerful talents of witchcraft and magic. When Jason, Prince of Iolcus, and his band of Argonauts arrive on the island, Medea knows it is her one chance to escape. If she helps Jason steal the Golden Fleece from her father, he promises to marry her and take her back to his kingdom. Atalanta, raised by bears, is a warrior caught between the wilderness and the human world, but never fully part of either. After the sudden disappearance of the woman she loves, Atalanta joins the Argonauts in an attempt to find her. But when Medea joins the ship, the sorceress awakens something in Atalanta that she cannot ignore, something more dangerous than she could have ever imagined. As the ship sets sail, Medea and Atalanta will be forced to choose between a life they always wished for and a love they secretly desire. But in a world ruled by men, it might just destroy them. Oh my god. Is this another forbidden sapphic romance? We are being fed We are so being fed in 2026. I've read quite a few Argonautica retellings in my time, and it starts to get to a point where they kind of blend together because no one is really doing much new with them. I've read quite a few Medea retellings, I've read a few Atalanta retellings, and like, they're good, but they're not like particularly innovative. But as soon as you throw a little bit of doomed, forbidden sapphic romance in there, I am sat. This is really exciting. As soon as you think that like this subgenre of myth retellings is becoming like pretty oversaturated and everyone's doing the same thing, suddenly you get a whole host of myth retellings that all take a very original stance, a very original approach to these myths that have like been around for thousands of years. It's really exciting. Okay, next up we have, oh my god, what is this? Could this be another physical arc? Oh my god, this is Starshipped by Cat Sebastian. I have been wanting to read Cat Sebastian for ages and ages, and now I finally have the opportunity to. Okay, the blurb is long, so forgive me. Cat Sebastian's long-awaited foray into contemporary romance. A witty, emotional, and deliciously slow-burn enemies to lovers romance between two co-stars on a popular sci-fi television series. Simon and Charlie, actors on a long-running sci-fi show, can't stand one another. Charlie is impetuous, outgoing, and basically feral, and Simon thinks he should have stayed in reality television where he belongs. They spent the better part of a decade quarrelling over the spotlight and pretty much everything else, and everybody in the industry knows it. Now that Simon's contract is finally done, he can move to New York, start fresh with work he actually likes, and get away from Charlie. Simon's only problem is that people might assume he's been pushed off the show due to being impossible to work with, and he is kind of difficult to work with. He doesn't get along with people, unlike Charlie, who somehow tricked everyone on the show into adoring him despite some outrageously bad on-set behaviour during the show's first season. Simon would rather never have to see Charlie again, but reluctantly agrees to stage a very public friendship during the short time before he moves. When Charlie has to leave town to deal with a family emergency, this means Simon comes along. Their road trip brings Simon to places he would never have willingly chosen to visit, and he finds he's actually not having a terrible time. The more he gets to know Charlie, the more Simon suspects he's underestimated his former co-worker. Simon also realises that after 7 years, Charlie might know him better than anyone ever has. Even stranger, Charlie seems to be starting to actually like him, despite knowing him so well. Still, Simon is about to move 3,000 miles away, so whatever's starting between him and Charlie can't really amount to anything. Right? It also has a list of tropes here: enemies to lovers, opposites attract, forced proximity, and slow burn. Like, truly, this is tagged like a fanfiction on AO3, and I'm pretty sure I have read a fanfiction like this before. That summary is super long, so I'm going to keep it pretty brief. I'm sat for this. I'm so excited. This is right up my street. It has real AO3 vibes, and yeah, I'm obsessed. Also coming out on the 23rd of April, we have a real triple whammy on the 23rd of April. That is going to be my Barbenheimer of 26. Are people still talking about Barbenheimer, or is that just like an old dead meme now? Anyway, 3 amazing books coming out on the same day, and I am very excited. We also have, oh my god, another physical arc. Gasp! This is Survival Show by Juno Dawson, who is probably most famous for writing Her Majesty's Royal Coven. This is like a dystopian kind of speculative thriller. It has been described as The Hunger Games meets Dream Academy, as in like the reality TV show that cast Cat's Eye, and I'm quite a fan of Cat's Eye, so I'm immediately obsessed. 10 contestants, 1 killer stage, no second chances. Taryn Beck and her family don't have much, and her younger brother needs vital medication to survive. Medication they can't access or afford, so Taryn secretly enters Star Maker, the most watched reality TV show in the world. The rules are simple: young women from all over the globe compete to join an all-singing, all-dancing pop group. If you win, a life of luxury awaits. But there's a catch: eliminated contestants are literally eliminated. Taryn soon realises that reality TV is far from real. She and her fellow trainees are pitted against each other in cruel challenges, and she is determined to expose the brutal regime and destroy Star Maker from the inside. Get ready for the performance of Taryn's life. That sounds so exciting. I am sad. I am so here for it. I'm super excited that I already have a copy of this book in my hands and I get to hold it and read it and turn the pages. So best believe I will be reading this ASAP and I am so excited. And then finally, coming out on the 30th of April, this is the last book on the list from April, you'll be pleased to hear, we have We Burn So Bright by TJ Klune, who wrote the thingy, the Cerulean Sea, that book. I haven't read any TJ Klune, but I have heard nothing but good things about his stuff. So yeah, that's why this book is on the list. And also the summary sounds amazing. Husbands Don and Rodney have lived a good, long life. Together, they've experienced the highest highs of love and family, and lows so low that they felt like the end of the world. Now, the world is ending for real. A wandering black hole is coming to Earth, and in a month, everything and everyone they've known will be gone. Suddenly, after 40 years together, Don and Rodney are out of time. They're in a race against the clock to make it from Maine to Washington State to take care of some unfinished business before it's all over. On the road, they meet those who refuse to believe death is coming and those who rush to meet it. But there are also people living their final days as best they know how. Impromptu weddings, bright burning bonfires, shared meals, new friends. And as the black hole draws near, among ball lightning and under a cracked moon in a kaleidoscope sky, Don and Rodney will look back on their lives and ask if their best was good enough. Is it enough to burn bright if nothing comes from the ashes? Again, I feel like I'm going to need tissues for this book. It sounds incredibly depressing. It has kind of similar vibes to the film Don't Look Up, which was like massive was it during the pandemic? Like years ago? And again, pretty apt considering like everything that is going on in the world at the moment. It feels like the end of the world. So I guess this is maybe a good way to cope, possibly. Okay, we're going to move on to May, and honestly May is also a pretty stacked month, especially when it comes to classics related books, which is great for me because I have my Mythology May reading challenge every year, so I am not going to be lacking in terms of books that I can read. First up we have Aphrodisia, Women, Sex and Pleasure in the Classical World by Jean Menges, which comes out on the 7th of May. This is another non-fiction book that is all about women's pleasure in the ancient world. Was Ovid a surprising champion of women's sexual pleasure, or did he just want them to fake it? Where did the British Museum curators hide the most pornographic of frescoes? And what exactly was the phallic wooden object excavated in 90s Northumberland? In Aphrodisia, Dr. Jean Menges dives into the hidden history of women's sexuality in ancient Greece and Rome. The classical world stretched across the Mediterranean for more than a millennium, its people and cultures wide and varied and its sexual proclivities equally so. Yet so often when we read about sex in antiquity, it is about the menfolk first and foremost, which brothels they were visiting, how they balanced wives and lovers, and what they got up to in the gymnasium. Delving into the literature, art and artifacts of the ancient world, from sex toys to seduction tips to kink, Dr. Jean Menges instead centers women and their desire. In doing so, she uncovers the many faces of women's sexuality over the course of thousands of years and asks intriguing and sometimes provocative questions about women, sex and desire today. I love books that kind of reimagine history from the perspectives of ordinary women. Emily Hauser did an amazing job with this in Mythica, which came out earlier this year, and was honestly one of my favourite non-fiction books of 2025. And, you know, she wrote about like the lives of ordinary women during the Mycenaean period. And it looks like Jean Menges is going to do the exact same in this book, talking about specifically women's sexual desire in the classical world. And that's really exciting because, I mean, if you know anything about like ancient history, they didn't really shy away from like the lewd stuff, like the graffiti and like the art and sculptures, all of that stuff. Like they didn't really shy away from depicting like naked people, people engaged in saucy acts, but to have it specifically focused on women and specifically women's pleasure rather than, you know, men getting pleasure from women, that is quite novel. So yeah, that's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to reading this. Next up we have Andromeda by E.S. MacLeod, which comes out on the 14th of May. This is a Greek myth retelling, obviously from the perspective of Andromeda, who was the wife of Perseus, I believe. She was an Ethiopian princess, but she has so often been depicted as a white woman. So to have this book that is retelling her story as a black woman, written by a black woman, is really exciting. A powerful, electric reclaiming of the most famed whitewashed woman in Greek mythology. Blessed by the gods with unparalleled beauty, Andromeda lives a life of ease within her Ethiopian palace walls. Content with her sanctuary, the young princess has no concerns other than the royal expectations her parents have for her, until a single, fateful proclamation changes everything. When the queen defies the gods with a blasphemous claim, Poseidon, fearsome god of the seas, delivers a deadly ultimatum that puts the queen's life in Andromeda's hands. Poseidon sends his loyal servant, the shape-shifting Ceto, to seal the princess's fate. But Ceto is not just a servant. With a sharp tongue and hardened heart, she has little interest in the princess's appearance, and even less in the games of the gods. Yet an undeniable tension begins to bloom between them, and both quickly realize Andromeda's beauty is not only a gift, but a weapon to wield. As Poseidon's judgment draws ever closer, the two women find themselves pulled into something far more passionate and dangerous than ever could have predicted. Is this also sapphic? Oh my god, we are literally getting so fed next year. Sapphic mythology nerds, rise. I am so excited. I did not realize this was going to be sapphic as well. This is so exciting. We are so getting fed. And also coming out in May, we have Servus, How Slavery Made the Roman Empire by Emma Southern, which comes out on the 21st. Emma Southern wrote probably my favourite nonfiction book I read this year, which was, oh my god, what's it called? A Fatal Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, Murder in Ancient Rome, which is just such a masterful examination of all forms of murder and violence in the Roman world. I just love her writing style. It's kind of Terry Deary-esque, like it's witty and funny and lighthearted, but also she still treats these victims of murder who were, you know, killed, often very violently. She treats them with a lot of empathy and compassion and dignity. And this is a book about Roman slavery, which, I mean, sounds pretty depressing, but I think she is the perfect person to address this topic with, you know, the level of respect that it requires. We associate the Romans with majesty and greatness. We marvel at their straight roads and innovative underfloor heating, at the dominance of their army and navy, at the grandeur of their palaces and temples. But the Romans were also enslavers. They built an empire on the backs of millions of people snatched from their homes in the aftermath of war, kidnapped from the streets, sold into slavery as punishment, or simply born enslaved. Servus takes us into the invisible spaces of the Roman world, where millions of enslaved lives were unwillingly dedicated to the perpetuation of the empire that owned them. From the fields of wheat required to give every Roman their daily bread, to the actors and gladiators who provided their circuses, and the miners who kept Rome a city of gold and marble, enslaved people were the bedrock of the Roman Empire. These enslaved people were ubiquitous, but silenced. Through the fragments they left behind, historian Emma Southern traces the pain and tragedy of their lives alongside the love stories, lifelong friendships, small victories, and hard-won freedoms. Servus tells the truth about the Roman Empire and the unseen lives that made it so dominant. Again, I love a book that talks about the aspects of the ancient world that, like, aren't typically seen in, like, epic poetry. Like, there were so many slaves in ancient Rome. In, like, the entire Roman Empire, there were, you know, millions. And yet, most of them couldn't really read or write, so they never left as much of a mark on the ancient world as, for example, like, the really rich politicians who wrote memoirs and biographies and things like that. So automatically we know a lot less about them. So to have a book that is focused purely on slavery is really cool, I think. I'm very excited to read it. I've had to turn a lamp on because I've been yapping for so long that the sun has literally gone down and it is dark outside. But also my storage was getting full, so I needed to like upload some of the last footage. But it's mostly because I have been yapping for a very long time. And we still have a lot of books left to go through. So yeah, let's keep going. We are in June now, and coming out on the 4th of June is The Heirs, which is the new book by Frida Abike-Amide. I am obsessed. I'm so obsessed. I read and loved both Ace of Spades and Where Sleeping Girls Lie last year. So the fact that I have an early copy of her new book is insane. I had to wait in an extremely long queue at Yalk last month in order to get my hands on a copy, but it was so worth it because now I am able to hold this in my hands like 6 months before anyone else does. The utterly addictive new YA murder mystery thriller from Frida Abike-Amide, the instant New York Times bestselling and award-winning author of Ace of Spades and Where Sleeping Girls Lie. Meet the heirs: Octavius the maestro, Fola the brain, Bilal the Olympian, Perdita the artist, and Romeo the failure. 5 prodigies. Everyone has heard of the Button heirs, the 5 genius children of infamous billionaire Leontes Button. Adopted and trained under the Button method, they've had no choice but to be brilliant. One dead father, but brilliance comes at a deadly price, because at their father's 10th annual Prodigy Ball, Leontes Button is murdered. A mansion full of suspects. As long-buried secrets come to light, one thing is clear. Everyone at the ball had reason to want him dead. After all, their father was especially good at making enemies. That sounds so cool. I'm getting such Knives Out vibes from this book. I'm obsessed. I'm so grateful that I have an ARC, and I'm going to absolutely devour it imminently. Also coming out on the 4th of June is This Immortal Heart by Jennifer Saint. We get a new Jennifer Saint book next year, and I'm so excited. I love her myth retellings so much. Her most recent book, Hera, was one of my favorite books of the whole of last year, and honestly, one of my favorite myth retellings ever. And this retelling is all about Aphrodite and Ares. From the #1 best-selling author comes an epic story of love and war as 2 opposing deities find themselves drawn to each other against all odds, because when Aphrodite and Ares fall in love, sparks are bound to fly. This is the oldest love story of all time. Aphrodite, goddess of love, wields unparalleled power over every divine and mortal heart. Mistaken to be all beauty, no brains, she is in fact the most dangerous of all, driven by passion regardless of the consequences. While on the surface, Ares, god of war, is her opposite, disliked by everyone and devoted to stirring up conflict, the two are more alike than they realize, each causing havoc for gods and mortals as they rule their primal realms. These gods are no more immune to the dizzying highs and lows of love and loss than anyone else, and before long, they are irresistibly drawn to one another. But there's only so much room for fire and passion in Zeus's kingdom, and whilst the god of war may be capable of greater love than anyone else, so may the goddess of love be capable of the gravest mistakes. I am sat. As I've said, I love an Aphrodite retelling, and again, this sounds like a really great original approach to it, focusing on the kind of forbidden romance between Aphrodite and Ares. I'm so excited. And before you ask, yes, I have pre ordered this book. I can't wait. Another book that I have on pre order that I can't wait for is Heartstopper Volume 6, the 6th and final installment in the Heartstopper graphic novel series. I am devastated that this series is coming to an end. I'm distraught. This book comes out on the 2nd of July, and I'm honestly terrified, but also very excited for it. Boy meets boy, boys become friends, boys fall in love. The final installment in the best-selling LGBTQ+ graphic novel series about life, love, and everything that happens in between. Everyone in school knows Nick and Charlie. Everyone knows they're going to be together forever. But Charlie's busy with his bid to become head boy, and while Nick is preparing to leave for uni, he's starting to wonder who he'll be without Charlie. And that's it. That's the description we have. I have not been following the comic on Webtoon, so I'm not like completely up to date with everything that has been happening with the graphic novel. I just read it when it comes out in print. So it's been a while since I've kind of been updated on the lore. But I love this series so much. It has a real special place in my heart. I love the TV series. I'm looking forward to the film coming out. I'm especially looking forward to the film coming out because of something I did earlier this year that is top secret and I'm not allowed to talk about, but is incredibly exciting. And I will probably share with you at some point next year, maybe when I'm allowed to. But yeah, safe to say, on the 2nd of July, I will be sat reading this. I'll probably have to read the first 5 books, reread those just to like get myself caught up on the lore first. But once I've done that, I will be sat reading this. Next up, also coming out on the 2nd of July, we have Main Characters by Bobby Palmer. This is a love story told by everyone but the main characters, says the tagline. And that sounds like several fanfictions that I have read. Clara and Seb are about to fall in love. They don't know it yet, but everyone else does. When Clara and Seb meet in a quiet corner of London, it's the start of something. She wants to be a director, he's an actor unsure what he wants from life. Their connection is magnetic. Everyone can see that falling in love looks something like this, but when Clara casts Seb in the film that will make her name, what should be the happiest time of their lives ends with a gut-wrenching betrayal. Some love stories are bigger than just 2 people. This one is told through the eyes of friends, flatmates, exes, and strangers who see all the sides of Seb and Clara, from their first date to the moment they fell apart. Everyone has their version of events, but only Clara and Seb can decide how their story ends. I love this concept. I have read a lot of fanfictions with this trope. It's a fantastic trope. I love the idea of like an extended character study, just seeing the character through the eyes of other people. I feel like it's got kind of normal people vibes, kind of last 5 years vibes. Yeah, I'm very intrigued, and I do have an arc of this book, of NetGalley, which I'm very excited about. I remember I had to wait ages for my request to get approved, and I kept getting like quite nervous because I got other requests approved, and then as I like my ratio of like approved arcs to read and reviewed arcs started to fall. I was like, I'm not gonna get this. I was just thinking, there's no way of getting tickets to this show. But finally, after like weeks of waiting, I got approved, and now I get to read it early, which is very exciting. And then we also have, oh my god, does this also come out on the 2nd of July? This is another Barbenheimer situation, I'm not gonna lie. We have 3 great books all coming out on the same day. The 2nd of July is going to be a big day. We have Better Than Revenge by B. Fitzgerald. If you have seen literally any of my videos, you know I am a huge fan of B. Fitzgerald. I love everything she writes. I would buy and read her grocery list if she published it. She's mostly known for her young adult myth retellings, which are incredible. But this is an adult thriller along the same lines as what's her other book called? Then Things Went Dark, which is amazing. It's so good. Nadine Haywood is determined to be the best actress in the world. Getting into London's top drama school is just the first step. But there, Nadine comes head to head with Harper Moore. Beautiful, brilliant, effortlessly charming, she is everything Nadine isn't. And immediately, Nadine sees her as more than just a competition. As their worlds collide against the glitz of Hollywood, they can no longer keep their rivalry private. Splashed over the tabloids, Harper and Nadine are the public's favourite celebrity feud. But as the stakes get higher, they start to realise there is more to their passionate hate than meets the eye. Again, Sapphic Enemies to Lovers book. We love to see it. I am just sad. I'm so excited for a new B. Fitzgerald book. Moving from one favourite author to another author who has recently become an auto-bi-author for me, we have A Planet Called Happy by Riley August, which comes out on the 23rd of July. So this is going to be a bit of an early birthday present for me, I think. Alice appears to have it all: a great job, a loving girlfriend, and a loyal dog.
Yet each morning he wakes up feeling that something is missing. In a desperate quest for true happiness, he boards a luxury shuttle to planet Happy, a hedonistic paradise where guests seek the elusive Happiness X, the trademark secret to instant joy. There, he encounters Nara, a VIP attendant with her own dreams of freedom, whose job is to ensure Ellis has the time of his life. But when an activist group disrupts their plans, Ellis and Nara embark on a thrilling adventure that challenges their understanding of happiness and the influence of corporate power. Will they find what they're searching for, or will they discover something even more valuable? Last year, I read The Last Gifts of the Universe by Riley August, and it was one of my favorite books of the year. It was, yeah, 5 stars, had me absolutely sobbing. So good. I just love a cozy sci fi that also talks about like really deep topics like capitalism and colonialism and like mortality as well. I do enjoy my cozy sci fi with a little side order of existential horror. So, yeah, this book also sounds fantastic, and I am very excited to read it come July. Coming out on the 18th of August, we have Olivia Blake's new book, Dreamland. I love Olivia Blake. She is an absolute author by author for me. Um, Her books can be a little bit hit or miss for me personally, but she is an author by author because her books always look absolutely stunning. And I love having them on my shelf. And yeah, so I always end up getting the hardback of whatever book she puts out next. An intimate, contemporary, and visceral gothic novel about family secrets, unsolved murders, and ill-fated summer love by multiple New York Times bestselling sensation Olivia Blake. The headlines are calling it the Summer of Exsanguination in LA. Girls are being murdered, the Santa Ana winds are blowing strange energy into the city, and all signs point to fire season. But Anya Morris has other things to worry about, like whatever it takes to get a foot in the door of an unfeeling, ever changing industry after losing the TV pilot that should have been her big break. Enter William DeWitt, a movie star of generational acclaim who proposes an opportunity. His son, Jude, has a rare condition that forces him into a reclusive lifestyle. In exchange for spending time with him, Anya will gain entry to Hollywood's most powerful circles. Just like that, a world of money, access, and industry clout sprawls at Anya's feet, like the city below the mysterious DeWitt villa in the hills. But behind the gilded veneer of fame lies decades of blood-stained secrets, and it just may be that an occult family curse lives within the villa's walls, or within Jude himself. But there's a dark magnetism to Jude that Anya can't resist, despite warning signs that scream like sirens in the night. And as the murders across the city continue to ratchet up with the summer heat, something has to give. There's smoke in the air, but who will be the one to strike the match? That sounds amazing. I am so here for like a gothic, atmospheric vampire novel set in LA. That sounds amazing. And then coming out at some point next year, I think. The proposed publication date is the 10th of September, but that could well change. We have B. Fitzgerald's fourth and final young adult myth retelling. It doesn't have a title yet, it hasn't been announced. We don't have a cover, we don't really know what it's about. The synopsis I have managed to find, it has potentially been leaked. I don't know, but it's not confirmed or anything. It hasn't like been officially announced. So I'm not actually going to like talk about the synopsis or like reveal it because I feel like the author herself should be the one to be able to do that, you know? She should be the first person to talk about her own book, you know? We have a proposed release date of the 10th of September, which is very exciting. And if the synopsis that I am looking at right now, if it is accurate, then it's going to be huge. I am so sad, honestly. I was low-key waiting until this particular book announcement to make this video, but it's gotten to the end of the year and time is running out. I feel like it's a bit soon. But I still wanted to talk about it because I love B. Fitzgerald's myth retellings. As I've said, I would read her grocery list if she published it. And if this book is about what I think it's about, I'm already lining up that 5-star review. I cannot wait. And then finally, our last book in this list is yet another myth retelling because you know, what better way to finish up this video with another myth retelling? We have Styx by Nikita Gill, which is the second book in the Goddesses of the Underworld trilogy. I, yes, that is actually what the trilogy is called. Okay, it's the second book in the trilogy that started with Hecate, and I have not read Hecate yet. I do have a copy. It's on my TBR for this month. I really would like to get to it, but I am so certain that I am going to love it that I have already pre-ordered the special edition of Styx. I love a novel in verse. I love a retelling. I love actually the concept of retelling a myth that was like usually, you know, talked about originally through verse in the same format, if you know what I mean. So like stuff like the Homeric hymns, for example, and epic poetry, like it was all passed down orally through songs, through poems. So having a retelling that is in that same format in verse, it makes sense, you know? Beginning a generation before Hecate, Styx sings the story of the goddess of the underworld river that bears her name. The firstborn child of Titans, Styx is revered as the first of her kind until she is eclipsed and forgotten amid her scores of siblings, the Oceanids and the Potamoi. Coming of age in a world simmering with paranoia and unspoken fear of Zeus, the volatile and unchecked god king, Styx learns to conceal the rage ignited by her growing disillusionment with her parents and her vain and unkind siblings. Instead, she finds solace and sisterhood in her cousin, Asteria. Together, they train in the arts of creation and magic, and as they seek to learn their divine purpose and their place within the Titanomachy, they discover both the joy sparked by true love and the fierce resilience birthed from motherhood. In this lyrical and heartrending tale of sisterhood, identity, love, and war, Styx must carve her own path to womanhood and ultimately godhood. That sounds so exciting. So it's like a prequel to Hecate. That is really exciting. I actually love it when trilogies don't kind of go chronologically and they do something like the complete opposite and go like anti-chronologically, go back in time. The same thing happens with the Golden Apples trilogy by Emily Hauser. I know I've brought up Emily Hauser in this video before, but like I love her stuff, okay? Where each book in that trilogy is set like before the last one, and there's like a whole kind of running arc of the Golden Apples, and we finally find out at the end of the third book what it all kind of means. I guess what the purpose of the Golden Apples actually are. I just love that concept. I love it when things are original, I guess. Again with like the doing retellings in an original way. I just love it. So that's it. Those are the 26 books that I most want to read, that I'm most looking forward to reading in 2026. Some absolute bangers there. I'm sure quite a few of them will be some absolute favourites of the year for me. Have I potentially jinxed myself by raising my expectations too high and maybe I'm going to be disappointed by some of them? Possibly, but you know, that is a price I'm willing to pay. Do let me know if any of these books also tickle your fancy. Let me know if you've pre ordered any of them, and also let me know if there are any books that I've missed, any books that you are particularly interested in reading next year that I know nothing about, and then I can add them to my wish list. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel for more content like this. I've got all of my 2025 wrap ups cooking. They are cooking up here, so they will probably be coming out early 2026, you know, once I'm slightly less busy over the Christmas period. And in the meantime, you can also find me on TikTok, Instagram, Storygraph, and Blue Sky. My username on all those platforms is @WithLivJones. And yeah, if I don't see you beforehand, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.